Hello and welcome to How I Play my level 95 wizard. Now, we're going to talk about spells, we're going to talk about my hotbars and gear, I guess. And we'll go from there. So, spells, if you haven't watched the level 85 and level 90 videos, the spells are pretty much just +1s on those for the most part. Let's load my main spell set here, just make sure. Alright, so the first spell we cast is Twin Cast. Twin Cast allows us to double cast any of our damaging spells. It's probably one of the better spells in the game. Obviously, I have rank 1. Eventually, I'll get rank 3 from doing the raid. And I have no idea how to get rank 2. Next up, I have Ethereal Frost. This is our Frost nuke for the level. It does 17,000 damage with a 1.9 second cast time. Thrice Woven Potential. This is our magic nuke, if you will. Does 9,700 damage and has a chance to modify the next spell that is cast to 1.7 second cast time. And then I have Concussive Barrage. Now, I don't cast this anymore, and I still have it on my bar, but it's been replaced by a right here, which has a higher recast time, so I use it that way. Mostly, I don't really need to. Really, like, I'm not pulling aggro off my Shadow Knight, so I don't really need to deal with it. But it does decrease the hate on the next spell's cast. Next up, we have Ethereal Blaze, which is a 19,000 fire nuke for a 2-second cast time. Very nice damage on that. And then we have 3 AoE spells. I don't really do AoE anything at the moment, mostly because I'll die. I haven't fully worked out the best way for me to AoE taunt everything and then deal with AoE damage, right? So I'm still working on that, but eventually I might use these directional cones. There is a here called the same name, Beam of Displacement, which kind of does a gust of wind. I guess it only does 1 point of damage, but it's more of a, move mobs kind of thing. I don't know. I just don't feel like it's even worth doing for the most part. If I can get a 19,000 nuke on something and that crits, that's like 100,000. I feel like the mobs are gonna die, and the mobs do die too fast at the moment. So it's kind of like sometimes I can't even get a 2-second cast time off before the mob is dead. So I have the three AoEs that we have at this point, but I don't use them. I do have Evacuate. This is level 57 Evacuate memorized, just in case. Now I've run into the situation where I've used Exodus, our Instacast Evacuate, and then I have the staff here from Chardock for Evacuate. It's the same one. I just I didn't have anything else to put in the spell slot. I feel like might as well have it there for now until I figure out something better. Next up, I have Armor of the Crystal Wing. This is our current level rune and mana regen spell. I keep this on at all times. Then I have Placid Harvest, which is our current level harvest spell that just gives me back 16,000 mana. And then the last spell is it's Grounds Portal right now, but it can be literally any spell. I don't care. It's mostly the teleport, so I can either go back to wherever I'm fighting, or Plane of Knowledge, or whatever I need it to be. So it's just a throwaway slot, because I only really use the first 5 slots. All right, so that's the spells I use. I don't really use anything else. Our shielding is inside of Etherealist Unity here, so we get Shield of Bronze. I have a Shaman, so I always have Focus, so that never actually lands. We do have Improved Familiar, which is an AA that just gives us a familiar that gives quite a bit of stats, right? Like, look at this thing: 20% extra damage, 20 to 40% extra damage, critical damage by 21%, just all around a nice thing. Gives us mana regen and maximum mana, so it's a really good thing. It stacks with the standard. This is like the coolest looking pet. It's my favorite out of the whole entire game. Why can't I? inspect it. There we go. So you can have another familiar, like the later expansions give familiars for completing everything, like COV, TOL. I think Night of Shadows does, and so does Lorien's Song. So you can get a familiar from there. Wizards, I seem to be the unique case that they can have 2 familiars. Just like a cleric and enchanter can have 2 auras, a wizard gets 2 familiars. So you can kind of double stack those, like they both stack. It's nice and whatnot. So it's there, and then Crystal Wing here. It's just I keep this on at all times. You know, I get hit every once in a while, so it does pop off, but it's a 3-hour duration for that extra mana regen. You know, we have, what are we at? 707 mana regen right now. I do see potential to increase that by getting some other Augs with mana regen on them and stuff like that, but not a big deal. I don't really lose mana that much. So that's that. On spells, now hotbar wise, we have, you know, obviously I run everything in a multi-bind and whatnot. So you can see here my hide corpse is pretty much hide all the NPC corpses, forage, and auto inventory, all that stuff that we get from that. I multi-bind 5 and 4, so when I push 4 or 5, all my abilities will activate, and whatever the highest priority one is will get activated first. So when I hit 4 or 5, that happens. Which then my assist key is just X target 19, pet swarm, pet attack. We do call of Zotol, that's the summoned flying sword. Now that is a pet swarm pet, so that it, you know, goes in there. Now I don't know if there is a pet that we'll ever get, anything like that, so I don't know if I'll need to deal with pet attack. So that might be something I could take out of there, but I leave it in there for now just because I copied this UI from the wizard persona that this character was using beforehand. So there's that. Then I use the 2 mod rods that my mage can currently summon, and that keeps me pretty high on mana. So you know, that's 6 charges between the 2 of those mana mod rods. And then the multi-bind is the first concussion, so that just gives me, you know, initial aggro lowering, then twin cast, then thrice woven potential, ethereal blaze, and then ethereal frost, followed by force of will, which is a AA nuke for 5300 damage, 0.1 second cast time. And then Call of Zul, this is summons 2 level 90 swords to attack your target. So we'll see that here in just a second when we do the test of the multi-bind. Then my burn button is silent casting, which lowers our aggro. What is this here? Improve twin cast. That must have been something I just got. I don't think I put that in this yet. I haven't put that in my burn yet. Just because I haven't decided where to put it. I got to rewrite everything. So silent casting, followed by frenzied devastation, which just increases our damage while increasing the mana of our spells. Fury of the gods, right here, another AA. Just increases the base damage of all our abilities for 2 minutes. Followed by Ward of Destruction, which is a stationary ward that does AoE damage. Deals 6,000 damage to all creatures within a 60-foot radius. I used to have this in my multi-bind, but then I started realizing it was getting killed because I would pull like 20 mobs with my Shadow Knight, and then this would activate, and the mobs that are not fully, you know, engaged by my Shadow Knight, that are just, you know, passive aggro on him, get pulled onto me or to, like, you know, something else, and it's just like a total nightmare. Or it pulls mobs that are just not, you know, in my current aggro range, and it just pulls them. So it wasn't worth having in the multi-bind, even though it would be, you know, a little extra damage there. And then Spire of the Arcanum. Now this just increases our damage of our spells, reduces the cost of our spells, and increases our crit chance. Also increases mana and intelligence. So it's a nice little spell to have and always activate when possible. There's still a bunch more ranks of that we can get. And then in the second burn button here, this is where I'll probably put improved twin cast, but I have forceful rejuvenation here, which just refreshes every ability except for twin cast. And then use item 17, which is our breastplate, which is creates wall of mana, creates a shield of mana, which will absorb 4,500 damage when the shield fades from the time that or target. You'll recover the mana from the shield. So it's a little bit of a mana regen thing, so it's kind of nice to have. Just depends on how useful that is when we actually use it. And then this icon is still the other robe. There we go. All right, so that is all the spells. That's the multi-bind. Now everything else really hasn't changed. There's a harvest button now. I've removed those from the multi-bind at some point. So it casts 11, which is Placid Harvest, and then right after that's finished, it does Harvest the Druzzle, which is the AA Harvest, which restores 9,000 mana, or almost 10,000 mana, and this one restores 16, so that's almost, you know, almost 30,000 mana. It's like 25,000-ish mana restored, so it's pretty nice, considering we have, what do we have right now, 86,000 mana, so, you know, that restores a good chunk of that. And that's in my short duration macro for numpad 7. So when I'm doing like apathy and all the other junk on my shaman and the other self buffs for the Shadow Knight, this character is getting some mana back because he has nothing that benefits the group except for damage. Let's see here. That's all of that. That's all of that. Now I did add this mana burn macro. I don't know if I did this in the level 90 video or what, but so the concept here is I will target the target, X target 19. I will initially lower my aggro with Mind Crash so that I am not getting instantly gibbed. So this lowers my hatred by 26,000. So this is assuming that I've already done some hatred to it. This will lower it even further. And then I do mana burn, which is a was 1.6 million damage right now, which can crit to probably like 10 million. And it takes, you know, tons of, let's see here, and then increase the damage your target takes from 500 non-life tap direct damage spells by, 12,000 points per spell, and prevents additional mana burns for 2 minutes. So this is pretty crazy. So I'm doing, you know, 1.6 million, and then I think that's 1.6 million. Without the commas, it's hard for me to see. Yeah, it looks like 1.6 million. Let's go with that. And then everybody else, I guess, gets benefit from direct damage spells. So it's kind of crazy. I haven't really used it at all because nothing's living long enough to actually do that, but I can just straight out kill probably anything at this point that I fight with a 1.6 million nuke. But it is a 20-minute reuse, so keep that. And then right after I mana burn, I do Arcane Whisper, which lowers my hatred by another 60,000 points, and then 8% after that. So that is kind of like I mana burn. I might pull aggro off my Shadow Knight. I don't know. I haven't tested it yet. Maybe when we get to COV, we do Zelandakar. That's just a standalone boss. I'll mana burn it and see what happens. Yeah, so that's kind of, you know, kind of a nice little ability there. I get that, and it's just burn. What I usually have is burn 3 is just mana burn, because you kind of have to set it up a certain way. And I believe all the other burn abilities that I use kind of focus that also. So there could be it could be crazy. We'll see when we actually use it at some point in the game. Let's see, that's all that. That's all that. And we talked about this. Yeah, so that's all that stuff. Now, the wizard is pretty simple. I'm not gonna lie. There is not a lot to this other than nuking. Like, it's pretty much what all there is. It's a very simple class, a very box-friendly class, if that, because all you have to do is cast spells. You don't have to really worry about position. You just have to have line of sight. Gear-wise, I'm wearing the Grandiose set of armor for my visible set. This is from the I believe Veil Valaris. I bought it from the Marks of Valor vendor at the level 95 merchant in West Carana. They're like 300, 400 tokens per, and I just bought a full set of that to kind of do that. And now I have a one-handed item, a one-handed blunt, wand, I guess is what it is, that I am using as my weapon because there was no two-hander. I would typically go with a two-hander for the higher proc damage, but this was the best that I could find on the vendor at the time. So this does 255 damage over 2 ticks every time I cast a spell, give or take, whatever that is, passively, and then there's a chance for it to return mana back to me. So it's kind of nice with that in that regard. For my non-visible armor, I'm wearing the Tower from the Year of the Darkpaw stuff. It is all the non-visual stuff, like the rings and all that stuff, the charm and whatnot. It was slightly better than the vendor stuff, and I didn't have enough Marks of Valor to buy everybody everything. Like, it's just, you got to do what you got to do. All of these are using the Brilliant Shard here, which just increases mana, heroic intelligence, and wisdom, along with giving a bunch of stats to mana regen and spell damage. So I feel like this is probably the best way to go. I think heroic intelligence is the way I'm going to go with this guy long term. If not heroic stamina, it would be the fallback. None of the other ones have any benefit. I just feel like heroic intelligence is going to increase our mana pool significantly long term, and then having more mana means we can nuke for longer without having to wait. But at the moment, I'm not really losing mana too bad, so it's not a terrible thing. So that's gear. That is all that. Let's see here. I do have a power source. This is just whatever the Year of the Darkpaw power source is at the moment, level 95, so it just gives a little bit more heroic intelligence and whatnot there. I do have negative stats on these things, but it doesn't really matter. We're all about spell damage, and that kind of focuses all these other items. You can see here we're losing endurance, losing heal amount, losing wisdom, so you kind of see how that works. Let's do the multi-bind. We'll do like an example of it. I'm going to be pressing the 5 button and only the 5 button, so you'll kind of see what we do as we do this. This is a level 95 training dummy, so we'll see there. We'll look at spell and damage. So let's clear that out so we can see what's new. All right, so there we go. Force of Will, 3100. We mod rodded ourselves for 12,000. Then we got a Thrice Woven Potential for 11,000. Then we got a 116,000 Ethereal Blaze crit. We got some Twin Cast now going, so we got 39,000 there, 19,000, 122,000. You can just see like how much damage we're actually putting out here. 100,000. The spells, I have the spell effects on just because they're so cool looking, but you can see this is just insane amounts of damage. And our mana is not really going down that much. Like, I do have a few buffs. What is this? Voice perception. So I have level 120 clarity on me at the moment, so I kind of don't really lose mana as much. But you can see here I'm regularly hitting over 100,000 on some of these crits. That's just crazy, especially with all these twin casts that are going off now. It's just crazy damage. I feel like there's more damage than the mage, but it doesn't parse out that way sometimes. And after this video, we'll go to, I think, Shard's Landing with everybody, and then I'll do a group video with everybody kind of showing the parsing stuff on mobs that have more than 10 hit points, and just to, have some real data so we can look at there. But you can see here, this, 60,000 crits, twin casting, it's just constantly goes. The flow on this is really good. At level 100, we're going to get some more AA nukes, and then that's the only thing I'm going to add to this rotation. Those are going to drain my mana. The Druid class gets the same kind of things, but they're insta-cast, like fire, ice, and magic nukes. So they're going to be, you know, kind of nice to have just to throw more damage out there quickly. I like quick damage because some things just die faster than I can cast a spell. Especially with my Shadow Knight yielding a two-hander. But you can see here is just pretty insane damage coming out. Just mobs die. And using the training dummy for DPS doesn't really show that like the mobs are dead in like 7 seconds, right? So it's kind of something to think about there. And I guess I didn't talk about it when he spawned, but my sword comes out. It's like 2 fiery Avengers just like whacking away the mob. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy indeed. So there we go. That is the mage, or the mage. That is the wizard class. I keep messing up because this guy was a mage not too long ago, and he's I feel like a definite improvement in some cases over having 2 mages. Now, if I were to make the ultimate group, I would probably do 3 mages. Getting rid of the Beast Lord and having all mages, because that is just so much power. 3 wizards might work just as well, but it's so much power having that many that much damage. But the wizard right now, he's feeling really good. We'll see when we get to the parse, you know, where he parses, right? So everybody's level 95, so it's a fair game. Everybody has the exact same gear. So there's no, you know, oh, he's level 90, he's not going to do as much as a 95, you know, mage. So I think we'll see some real results here in the next video when we do parsing. We'll do parsing here in the guild hall, and then we'll do parsing in wherever zone I pick for fighting in. But thank you very much for watching, and please have a fantastic day.